All right, my friends, welcome back to the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel, where you learn how to get your money off of Wall Street and retire in 10 years or less. Now, my friends, I've got a spicy one for you today because I want to welcome you to 2024. It's a highly anticipated election year. Now, before I get too far into this video, I've got two warnings for you. First warning is this is a political video. Second warning is I'm going to be talking about both Republicans and Democrats. So no matter what side of the aisle that you're on, you're going to get a fair shake in this video. Okay? And my hope is to at least on one issue convert you from either side, the red party or the blue party, to the green party. Now, what is the green party, you might ask? Well, this is the party of wealth. My friends, this is why you're on this channel, is to learn how to master your wealth, take control over your money, and ultimately give yourself the ability to own and control your time. Now, this year, there's a lot of issues at the top of all the voters' lists, but the number one issue that is at the top of every voter's list is the economy. More specifically, your wallet or your purse, whichever you carry, it's okay. Now listen, Newsweek ran a poll across the entire political spectrum, and they found that over 60% of voters feel that the economy is the most important issue that they are voting on this year. It's the biggest issue for voters. So this brings up a really interesting question. If you're feeling that your wallet or your purse, again, don't worry, is tighter, that your money is stretched thinner than ever before, who should you vote for this election year? Who out of the candidates that are available to you will help you not only feel wealthier, but also get wealthier in real life? In this video, I'm going to show you why it doesn't actually matter who you vote for as it relates to your wealth. There is no difference between Biden, the current president, or Trump, the Republican nominee. Between those two individuals, it's going to be a showdown, a rematch if you will. It'll probably look more like a UFC cage match than it will a presidential election, except both fighters, Republican and Democrat, Biden and Trump, they're two very, very old men. So the fight's not gonna last very long. But no matter what side of the spectrum or aisle that you're on, both candidates, they know that the economy is the number one thing that Americans are concerned about right now. And both candidates, they're going to take their stance on what they're going to do to not only improve the economy, but to make you, the voter, feel wealthier. And they're going to do all of this in an effort to help you raise your standard of living, which is, let's be honest, generally struggled under Biden. Despite the Biden campaign touting a strong economy, most Americans, they're just not buying it. According to a poll done by Fox, 73% of Americans today rate the economy negatively. And that's actually an improvement since it was 83% in May of last year. What are Americans complaining about? Despite what Biden or the Oval Office wants to say, groceries, a key part of just surviving, groceries are up 50%. You're going to spend 50% more than you did just a couple of years ago on the exact same items. Interest rates remain at all-time highs, which has generally slowed down the rate at which money is flowing. Overall, more than 50% of Americans feel worse off financially than they did in 2020. So where do you stand? Do you feel like your money is stretched thinner? Do you feel like things are tighter? Are you wanting to vote based on which candidate is going to help you feel wealthier? Now, this video, I have a surprise for you, isn't going to tell you who to vote for, because in reality, it doesn't actually matter. But this is going to show you how you can always be on the winning side of the economy. I assure you, those who understand what I'm about to share with you are in this camp. With their money, they are either winning, or when things are going really well, when they're really humming along in the economy, they are winning big with their money and their wealth. The reason for this, it's really quite simple. They know something about the economy that most Americans do not. They understand the governing principles of the economy, and with this simple understanding, they know it doesn't really matter who is the president of our country or not, and they can control their dollars independently of their political affiliation. Now listen, you might already vote red, you might already vote blue, but no matter where you're at, I'm going to invite you to consider voting green when it relates to money, because at the end of the day, no matter who is in the Oval Office is going to play the exact same game. So what is the game that the politicians are playing with your money and your life? Let's go back to the year 2000 and look at the last 20 plus years of both Republican and Democratic presidencies to see what this game actually is. George W. Bush, a Republican, took office in the year 2001. During his 8-year tenure as president, he did a lot of things. During his presidency, I'm sure he accomplished a lot of things, both good, probably some of them bad, but what he did accomplish is further the game that all politicians have been playing since the year 1970. He added $5.8 trillion to the national debt. That's right, a Republican considered to be a fiscal conservative doubled the national debt during the space of just 8 20 years. More notably though, he increased the monetary supply, the amount of money in the US economy, by 12%. Now, what does the monetary supply mean? If there's 12% more money chasing the same level of goods and services, this causes inflation. The dollars in your wallet, the dollars in your economy buy fewer goods and services because there's the same amount of goods and services, but now more dollars chasing after those limited goods and services, which ultimately means all of your dollars and all of my dollars get less valuable because of this addition of new money into the economy. Now, in an odd turn of events as it relates to political stances, President Obama, a Democrat, he introduced what was called the Economic Stimulus Act of 2009. Over his presidency, he fought a different kind of war than President Bush. President Bush took us to the war in Iraq. Obama kept going with the war in Iraq, but now he declared a war on the Great Recession, a war on poverty. He spent $831 billion and he increased the national debt by $8.6 trillion, which was the fifth most that it had ever been increased with any president in the history of our country. Now, after Obama, Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the shoo-in. She was supposed to be the next in line for the great throne of the American presidency. But her campaign got sidetracked when Trump came out of nowhere, a Republican, and he ran on a platform of making America great again. For the first few years, he actually restored some of the fiscal sanity that our country is lacking right now to the Oval Office, but it was very short-lived. Trump declared yet another war, but this time the war was on COVID. He authorized $6.7 trillion be added to the national debt. Trump, during his 4 short years in Oval Office, he increased the monetary supply by 11%. Now, my friends, hopefully you've been following these numbers as I've gone through the last 3 presidencies, because in just 3 presidencies spanning 20 years, the national debt ballooned from $5 trillion to over $30 trillion. Today, Biden, a Democrat, is in office, and he is on pace to add more to the national debt than any presidency ever in the history of American presidencies. Now, it seems like every other week a new spending bill is passed, adding more debt and more money into an already fragile economy. The last spending bill that just barely passed in 2024 was $1.2 trillion and was partially meant just to keep the government going. That's right, they had to go into debt just to continue to operate. So, my friends, I don't care what they tell you inflation is. If there's 10% additional money floating around in our economy, inflation is a lot higher than the 3% that is usually reported. All of the presidencies, Republican and Democrat, no matter who they are, they did everything in alignment with the one game that is being played. Now, my question to you is, can you see it? Can you see the game that these individuals are playing with your money? Let me help you look at it from a different angle. Here is a $20 bill printed in 1970, and here is a $20 bill printed recently. They look just about the same. They're just a piece of paper, but they mean 2 radically different things. The $20 bill printed before 1971 was actually backed by gold. This meant that the government could only increase the monetary supply, the amount of money in the economy, as they increased and held a supply of a limited resource, in this case, gold. Theoretically, you could exchange this $20 bill for a value equivalent in the amount of gold. This curbed the printing of money and thus the rate of inflation. Before 1971, money was a store of value. This meant that you could save your money in something like a bank account or invest your money in something like the stock market and let your money grow. And when the time came for you to take your money out of these accounts, whether it was a savings account or an investment account, you could be confident that the purchasing power, the amount of goods and services your money could buy, remained intact. Meaning you could use the same $20 bill to buy the same amount of goods and services now or in the future. But in 1971, all of this changed. The rules of money changed. The way you build wealth changes, and President Nixon was the one who signed off on this bill. He took the country off of the gold standard. And at this point, the rules of money completely changed. Money stopped being a store of value and it became a currency instead. Now, here's the problem. Today, many people, maybe you, are still playing by the old rules of money, and they are fighting an uphill battle that they inevitably cannot win. Inflation, due to the excessive government spending and printing of money, it's literally destroying our money, your money, no matter where you're at. It's destroying money, it's destroying savings, and it's destroying retirement dreams. And more than anything, it's the lack of knowledge, it's the lack of financial intelligence that helps people fight this battle. When you're trying to save your money, you are fighting against economic forces that you cannot overcome. So this brings me to the point of this video. How do you win with your money and your financial goals in this new economy, no matter who is in the Oval Office? What if you could go to the voting polls this year and it didn't matter if you vote for Trump or you vote for Biden, you knew how to win the game of money? It is clear that they, Republican or Democrat, they're all playing the exact same game. And you can now go from, rather than being played by their game, to playing their game and actually winning. So let me help you understand how to do this. It really is quite simple. It comes down to two things: debt and assets. Now, has the government gone into debt? Now, the question that you need to ask yourself is, what is backing this debt? Has the government just willy-nilly spent money and gone into debt without backing this money with any type of collateral? Or is there some type of collateral backing this debt? Here is where the secret lies. In reality, all of the government's debt is backed by a very productive, very fruitful asset. Now, what is that asset? Is it a piece of real estate? Is it an investment in a gold mine somewhere? Is it Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? No, that asset is you. It's the American taxpayer, which is ultimately a representation of you trading your time to make money to then pay taxes to pay off the national debt. Now, at the same time as the government has gone into more and more and more debt as the years go by, the American public has taken the playbook right from the government and they've gone into almost just as much debt. There's only one problem though. This debt is not backed by an asset like the government's debt. This debt was secured to finance education, cars, credit cards, and mortgages, and it's the American public, the individual worker, who is on the hook to trade their time to pay off both debts, both the government debt and the own debt that they have. But those who are following the government's playbook are doing something completely different. They're using readily accessible debt. Today, my friends, it is true. Money does grow on trees. Just look at the government. They are printing money at a record pace. It is not hard to get your hands on money. But in order for you to overcome the consumer condition that is taking control of most of America today, you have to remember it comes down to debt and assets. Debt and assets. When you secure debt to buy something that's not an asset, all you're doing is you're trading your present time to buy something that you probably don't need, and you're then going to have to pay that thing off over the future. But those who understand the new rules of money are acquiring debt and then securing an asset that rises not just with inflation, but because of inflation. So debt and inflation are making those who understand the new rules of money wealthy almost automatically. What if I told you that you could access millions of dollars of debt right now to build your wealth? Like most people, you would be afraid because you have been trained, taught, and educated that debt is bad. It's a liability. Those people have used somebody else's money in the form of debt to buy something that has no real value and requires them to trade their time today and in the future to pay back the debt. The wealthy are doing the exact opposite. They have used the economic conditions and the resources available to them to build wealth automatically. They have used debt like an investor to buy an asset that has real value, that goes up in value because of inflation that is caused by reckless government spending. So inflation is not destroying their wealth, but it's actually creating it. Second, they buy an asset that produces enough cash flow to service the debt and put a profit in their pockets. Now, they do not teach you this kind of stuff in school. To do this successfully, it requires real financial education. Debt is a double-edged sword. It's neutral. It's not good or bad. It comes down to how you use debt. If you use debt like a consumer, debt is going to wreck you. If you use debt like an investor, debt will build your wealth almost automatically, and it can happen at a record pace. That, my friends, is the secret that the government understands. They never have a shortage of money because they can print money and back it by the asset of your taxes. Now that you know that debt and assets are the game that the government is playing, and it does not matter who you elect, you now know how to play the same game that they are playing, the same game that the wealthy are playing, and you can win. Not by luck, like it happens in the stock market, but by using the economic conditions to your advantage. So my friends, at the end of this video, you now have a choice. You can be played by the game of money and be always behind the 8-ball, hoping that something is going to help you create wealth, whether it's the market or whoever gets elected to the Oval Office or anything else. Or you can step up to the plate, use the new rules of money, debt and assets, and you can play the game to win. So my friends, this channel, the Wealth Outside of Wall Street channel, is about empowering you with money to understand the playbook that is being used today by the wealthy. My friends, it has never been easier than ever before to make money, to get wealthy, and it all comes down to raising your financial intelligence. Thank you for joining me on this video today. I hope it did that for you. I hope it raised your financial IQ. I hope it empowered you to go out to the voting polls and vote on the issues that matter to you. So my friends, let's start winning with money. Let's start winning with life. Take a moment, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can stay up to date, and watch my next video where I'm going to go deeper into the conversation of money and taking your money off of Wall Street.